Travis Wayne Goodsell. So, not being able to run today with the snow blizzard. The day seems to be going slow, as normally it would be 7:30 and not 6:30 right now. And yeah, I ignore that clock. So, California Mormons versus Utah Mormons. I was born in Northern California while my dad was going to Berkeley. Both my parents served missions for the LDS Church. When my dad graduated, there just happened to be a spot open at Ford Motor Company's financial department. Over a certain incident with the Pinto. And so off we moved, my brother and I, to Michigan, and two strange female creatures were joining our family while we were there. And then we moved to Southern California. Our first location after we settled in a place, we were staying in my mom's parents' mansion when we first got there, until Dad found something. And they found a suburban neighborhood that was somewhat used and old, but still a nice neighborhood, right by the school, right by a church. And there in Placentia. And I remember as a Mormon, it's a situation where you call your teacher's sister instead of Mrs. And I remember one of my teachers smiling about it. It was something that I had to continually remind myself to separate church and school, because outside of church I didn't really know any Mormons other than Laura Baker down the street. And so since she was the only Mormon I knew, yeah, I had a crush on her all through grade school until I moved away to Corona. And so, being a shy kid, I never had the courage, especially when I first knew her in second grade. She had a boyfriend, Kevin. And I remember on the playground during recess, the girls were playing tag with the guys, and I believed that I was supposed to outrun the girls, and soon lost interest in the game as girls were no longer pursuing me, and I had no idea I was supposed to get caught. We don't get taught sex ed, despite having both parents born and raised Mormon, both having gone on missions. My sex ed was late, and my parents split up. Dad talked to us there in the hallway with the door open, whereas Mom went in the girls' bedroom, shut the door, and was there for, who knows, an indefinite amount of time. It seemed like hours. Whereas Dad, yep, he was quick. At your age, you may find that your bed gets wet. It's normal, so if you have any questions, just let me know. He went to his master bedroom for the rest of the evening. My job is done. And yeah, when I was 16, into 17, well, 16, she was pregnant when I turned 17, and then Tabitha was born that summer. And so when I was 16, I would watch TV downstairs below the master bedroom late into the evening. And yeah, I would hear the bed rocking, and I knew what it was, and it was horrifying. And so when my mom was now saying, "Shh, the baby's sleeping," and the other kids were like, "What baby? I don't see a baby." "Mom, you're weird." Yeah, she was trying to communicate that she was pregnant. She had a couple of miscarriages along the way for that final fifth child, as she realized that we were about to leave home and start our own families and have our own lives in our own homes away from them. There was an economic shifting that occurred during the Reagan administration, where trickle-down economics became the new economy. And so I was immediately recognizing that I was never going to have my own home. I had no idea how I was even going to survive. And nobody was educating me on how to make it in the world after high school. So my parents, they gave me up to the system. That's how our government has designed it, is that what became the family proclamation was a culmination of traditional practice in Mormon church, where the father goes out, gets a job, a career, where he's able to pay for a brand new suburban home, 2 cars, and as the kids become teenagers, buy cars for the teenagers so that they can go to school and any activities and dating, and then a white picket fence and credit cards so that the wife can go shopping. And yeah, those days are gone. And I immediately recognized it. And it didn't help that the education I received in Southern California wasn't conducive for a career path. They taught basic stuff, your math and your sciences and your history, but there really wasn't a career-oriented schooling education. It was more of, you need to take honors classes so that you can get good grades, so that you can get into the good college or university when you graduate. That's all it was. We were being educated and trained for further school, which, after we leave our parents' place, it meant we go into debt with student loans. That didn't seem right and logical to me as a teenager. But my dad's generation was such, and that's why my parents fell for it, believing that it was still the same, that by getting a higher education, you'd automatically get a better job, and they would have to pay you depending on the level of education you received. And so it meant something in my dad's generation to get a higher degree. A higher degree is now worthless. Those of you who think that you still need to get a higher degree to get someplace, oh, you've been played. It's also that you can be slaves to the system. As Democrats are struggling to hold the slim majority, they still don't have sufficient enough to implement all their ideas that they want, because the Republicans hold too much control, too close of a margin. But yeah, that resulted in where I am today. Is the change in the economy, the change in the government, and thus the change in the social circumstances of life that the older generations still to this day are in denial of. As, my parents, even though they struggled when they moved here to Utah, my dad struggled to get a job because of his old age, and that's how they thought of it. Oh, it's just because he's older, and so it's harder to find a job. But Travis, he's young. He can just walk right into a CEO position at his age. Yeah, they're clueless. And but that was the life. I remember the general conference where we had to go to stake centers, and sitting in the chapel, my parents ended up in the overflow section, as that's as far packed as we got in Southern California at that time. We didn't go into the cultural hall, it was just the overflow. And everybody who's been to a Mormon church knows where the overflow is. But I remember I was sleeping on my mom's lap, as is common for conferences at a young age. When is this over? They didn't give out flyers so I can doodle and draw and take notes on the contradictory Mormon doctrines that are being presented that I would eventually collect and put together into a book called Mormon Philosophy. Or Philosophy of Mormonism. And in 78, in April, I remember being woken up as everybody in the audience was buzzing. N. Eldon Tanner, as I had to now find out later, because I had no idea who he was. Just some old man. And announcing that blacks could have the priesthood. And it never occurred to me that I'm in an all-white audience. I would literally spend 8 to 12 hours, depending on the day, watching TV. The reason why is because my mom taught me to use the TV for educational purposes. When Todd was born, he had colic, and so my mom was unable to take care of me anymore. So I had to fend for myself as a little 2-year-old. Cook the meals, clean the house, do the shopping. No, she sat me in front of the TV, and Sesame Street with Ernie and Bert became my best friends. And one cookie, and Super Grover and all them. And apparently, Sesame Street is a vital, essential educational tool for preschool kids, because I excelled in school, and as it doesn't seem to be a genetic thing, more of a cultural raising, upbringing, cultural environment thing. Sesame Street played a big part in that. But back in the 70s, you had to be wealthy enough to be able to get a TV, as my parents were. And so I would watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, for example, and not realize they were black. Oh, they're black? That's what a black person is? Yeah, racism, racial differences had no meaning to me. Despite the racism of my mom and her claim that my grandparents were also racist and worse racist than her, when I called her out on her racism, she, for the most part, had kept her mouth shut. And only when certain situations were brought up that she would expose her racism, as she blamed blacks for moving into our old home in Oakland, apartment in Oakland, where she said that the blacks moved in and ran down the place. That's the old racist term. You know, she didn't understand that when it was new to my parents, they wore it down so that the price for people after them was enough for blacks who are being discriminated against to be able to afford to buy them finally. And so when Stan Lowry moved in Corona, his family moved there, I had no idea that it was the new emerging trend for blacks to get opportunities that were previously unavailable for the whole. As we were in a brand new subdivision home there in Corona, and there he was, right there among all of us white people. And I was clueless that was an unusual situation, because I didn't see color. I did not understand that as a white person I'm supposed to be a white supremacist, because my parents, as much as they were racist, did not raise me to be racist, because they handed me off to the school system, handed me off to the TV. And so the TV and the school system were not racist. And there was even a Travis who, or was it Travis? Or was it my same birthday? I'm mixing it up. It's been too long now. And my dad threw away all my school stuff. But he at least had my birthday. But he was always with Charles, as they were best of buds. And so I didn't get to do anything with him. But Stan Lowry, I learned firsthand the racism of Mormons, because there's so few of us. But the sister, Mrs. Childs, she was a sister. She worked in the office at our Auburn Jail Junior High. And for PE, not recess, we were playing touch football. And of course the guys were joking, "Hey, why don't we play tackle?" and you know, everybody was getting a good laugh out of it. But no, we weren't intending to play tackle football. But the snap is made. I intercept the football, which was my custom as a grade schooler. I was great on interception touchdowns. But when my mom signed me up for football one summer, I had to get a physical. And so this female nurse doctor, I don't know if she was a nurse or a doctor, she came in. I'm being told to drop my pants in front of this strange woman, and she's got a spoon. "What are you doing with a spoon?" And my mom is there, so my mom is seeing me with my pants down. This strange woman is there with my pants down, and she's got a spoon. And then she goes and she grabs my testicles and shoves them into my body and tells me to turn and cough. And so, yeah, I did not play football ever again. Later I would find out, hey, I understand what the spoon's for. And so, yeah, in the Sylvester Stallone, Sandra Bullock movie about the future, he doesn't know what the three seashells by the seashore. He doesn't know what the seashells are for. You know. Yep. Pretty funny. But of course, I'm still trying to figure out what those shells are used for anyway. How would you use shells? But I think that was the joke. And so, yeah, as I was running in the end zone, I made the touchdown, but Stan Lowry finally got to me in the end zone, and so he didn't worry about tagging me or ripping off the flag because he knew I was in. So he just tapped me on the shoulders as a little token thing that he had done it, but he knew I was in. And unfortunately, at the same time that he was touching me, I took a wrong step, and I just saw it on a show yesterday. I was going, oh, that's the bone, that's the bigger one in the leg, on my right leg. It cracked on the inside, straight up. And so, yeah, it hurt. And so I was on the ground in pain. And the other kids were screaming to the coach. And I get rushed to the nurse's office, which is right there by the main office. And Sister Childs comes in. Don't worry, Travis. We know about Stan Lowry. We'll make sure that he's punished for this. And I'm going, it was an accident. He just barely touched me. I stepped wrong, and she wouldn't hear it. They were going to punish him, make an example out of him, because he's black, because he's had a history, because he's black. As I was an office aide that semester as well, I was in charge of filing people's criminal files there at the school, thus Auburn Jail. And so, yeah, they purposely let me see his file as his file needed to be put back in the file cabinet as it was placed back in, and it was thick. I felt so bad as I witnessed somebody being victimized for having done nothing wrong, all because he was black. That was the first time I had ever experienced racism. And I had no clue what it meant in 1978. And so, watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and other shows, even Miami Vice, Crockett and Tubbs, it meant more now in what I was learning. And so when Will Smith is talking about needing to move to Bel Air because he's being bullied in the projects, I now understood. It wasn't just about being picked on, it was a whole racial thing, as his aunt and uncle were success stories in Bel Air. A take on the Beverly Hillbillies, I guess. But then there's the women's situation. As a Mormon, we were told to avoid women because they're porn. And so I read Calvin and Hobbes and find out that they have cooties. So they've got these diseases called cooties, and they're porn. And now I have two younger sisters who my mom had us all bathe together in the same tub all at once. And so, yeah, I still remember, but it was prepubescent, so it wasn't a sexual thing. But then my mom, right around the time of sex ed, which was late, well, it was actually before, well, I don't know. I can't remember when my mom made me shower on my own. But I do remember the paranoia of my mom, because I would walk out of the house once without a belt on. Oh, she threw a fit. Get back in the house and put a belt on, you're naked. Excuse me? My mom was such that she was so controlling that my hair is as she had originally designed it, but you notice how I brush it back, comb it back. My hair's thinning. I had a Snoopy hairbrush for my thick hair, but I brush it back because my mom always brushed it down. So yeah, and she'd use hairspray. Oh dear God, I did not like hairspray. See, with my thick, curly, wavy hair, I loved playing in my hair, but not when it's got that hairspray gunk. And so yeah, at the final disgust, I'm not sure when, it was early on, when I said, I'm doing my own hair. Not using hairspray. But yeah, I understood why the hairspray is because with my thick hair, getting a haircut from my dad, there would be the times where it would be like poof, and so with we didn't have the quality shampoos that we do today, and so the static and out of place hairs, which you've seen occasions when I wear the hat. I have the curl that sometimes will be uncooperative, but in regards to the female mystique, the feminine mystique, yeah, I was totally scared in a, I guess, good way. As a kid, you're not quite sure of what it is you're feeling as you make that transition into puberty. You're experiencing a whole new emotional thought process that you don't understand, and when all you get from your dad is, hey, you're going to wet your bed, I'm thinking urination. You're clueless, and that causes damage, as I've learned, because it doesn't help with communication, and we've sort of grown out of the burning your hair because we love you just can't emotionally show it phase, because now we want to kiss the girl, but we have no clue. I even had to ask my younger sister Tiffany when I was a senior, and realized that because of the homophobia that swept through the church and into our family, as my uncle gave up on his family of Barbie doll wife and 3 Barbie doll girls, that he decided he was going to abandon them to be gay. And so my parents therefore believe that the gay gene is present in my dad's family, and the commercials from psychologists were saying that if your son has these symptoms, which we had previously told you months earlier was a sign of depression, well, now it's gayness. Your son may be gay. So bring him in, we'll electrocute him, we'll cure them of the gay, we'll turn it off. And then, of course, psychology got condemned for such a practice, except among those like my parents and other Mormons and conservatives who just repressed it, did not speak of it publicly, but deep inside believed that that was the only way to stop the gay agenda. Even after my mom caught me with Sears catalog pictures, they still believed I was gay. Unbelievable. And so, yeah, I had to ask my sister about dating. And so, yes, the Sears catalog, if you've not heard it before, and you're still listening, Beth, in kindergarten in Michigan, I experienced her getting molested. It wasn't rape, because rape involves the penetration. Might have been fingered, but she had been scared to death that the guys were unwilling to touch her because of that. If you understand what I mean. It was a nightmare for me as I stood in shock and horror. I had no clue what to do. I had no clue what was going on, and I was helpless. And so because of that experience, I have an emotional bond with women, whether they know it or not, whether they like it or not, as I've been abused later on by women who do not understand or are taking advantage of me for it. I prefer the company of women rather than men because of that experience. And so my mom in Placentia would sit us around the table and provide us projects. And sometimes it would be food related, like making our own little loaves of bread, or crafts, such as she bought a drawing book and we'd all draw based on the book. But she'd also take the Sears catalog after she got the brand new one and plop it on the table, and we would go over it, cut out pages, and make a collage on paper with tape or glue. I don't think we had tape yet. I know we had glue, That's the older product, Elmer's glue. And so because of that, she then taught me to go through the catalog to look for pictures to tear out and make collages. Well, she should have thought that a boy entering puberty is going to have changes in regards to how he perceives women in women's fashion, which includes underwear. And so those are the pictures that she caught one time, where she just burst into my room, went straight for my underwear drawer, and found them hidden underneath. So I guess I was supposed to hide them under the mattresses of my bed, or a secret panel in the wall or something. But yeah, for my mom, it was an evil sin. It's porn. And yet she promoted porn for me. And so it's confusing. Is this a sin? Is this wrong? Or is it not wrong? And it just depends. It's whatever people choose. And so thus there is no standard measurement by which to determine sin in the church. There is, but nobody wants to develop it. If it's a crime, it's a sin. Simple. Wow, that's amazing. And so, no. Seeing a woman in her underwear is not a sin. Seeing a woman naked is not a sin. It's because it's not a crime. If a person is kidnapped, now you've entered into a crime. The picture of the crime is not a crime, but is evidence of the crime that occurred. So it's real simple. I don't understand why anybody can't figure that out. Most likely because they don't want to. And so, yeah, I would have wanted to have been a woman's fashion designer for my career, which had a starting salary, according to the woman formerly called my first ex, who was also pursuing that career field at Rick's, as $100,000 starting salary. Huh. Way to go, Mom. And so yes, I'm now in my current circumstances because of my mom. She was so controlling, so domineering, so demanding that I pursue her life for me, that this is where I ended up as a consequence. Because she would not give me agency to make my own choices and help facilitate my own choices, as is what you're supposed to do as a parent for your children. You're not supposed to force your kids. You're supposed to give opportunities for your kids to learn all about life, and then let them choose from all they've experienced, and then help them facilitate it. So if they want to be a ballerina one year, great. You put them in ballet school. If they want to be a gymnast afterward, great. Help them in gymnastics. If they want to be piano, great. If they want a pet, well, just make sure they're not allergic. But my parents learned as was it John Oliver? Somebody I watched the other week had realized that there was a concern about new developing projects or new developing suburban homes that was killing off the wildlife and resulting in mice, rats that would carry diseases and cause harm to those in the new subdivisions. Well, my parents knew how to handle that situation. You get stray cats. So the stray cats patrol the streets, keeping it safe from the diseased rat infestation or mice, whatever it is. And unfortunately, in Riverside, there were some anti-cat haters that went so far as to actually poison the cats. Oh, dear God. They did not understand why the necessity of cats are important in a new subdivision. You may find it horrific that cats are roaming your neighborhood and going in your backyard, but they're keeping the diseased rats away from you. But, I mean, it could be that guy who threatened my life because my parents apparently had told him how much of a terrorist I am. But that's what it's like being born and raised Mormon. If you don't become who your parents want you to be, you're the enemy of mankind. A menace to society. The age is actually 24 or 21. Some guy has it on the internet. He did research on where this came from and found out that it was somebody else who claimed that it was Brigham Young who said it, and that the date and the actual, it wasn't a menace, it was deviant or something like that to society instead. But yeah, good for him. Now try doing it on church history. Do you take the challenge? I bet you won't. I did. So, as I got into high school, I did encounter other Mormons finally. And I didn't hang out with them though. When the time to show that I'm not a gay person for the school dance came, I wanted to ask the Mormon girls. They were already taken immediately because Slim Pickens, the Mormon boys, got to them first. And so Carrie Bain and I can't remember her name, but I remember a church dance. I'm a shy guy, and social communication, especially with women, as I'm at the height of puberty, made it very uncomfortable to be in the presence of a woman. And I got the courage up to go and ask her if she wanted to dance, just a dance. And she said, "Nope, I've got a headache, I'm going home." And I went and slithered back against the wall. Never went to a church dance in high school ever again. But that's how the Mormon women treated me. Although there were confusing mixed messages, Carrie Bain apparently was the one responsible, as I found out from my sister, who was upset that she is not going to be her stepsister or sister-in-law. She hearted us one morning with toilet paper and hearts, and I came out to go to early morning seminary, and I looked at it and go, "Oh hell no, I'm not cleaning this." And I took off and left. And yeah, I found out a couple days or weeks later from my sister that it was Carrie Bain. who had spent all that time making the hearts and the toilet paper. I had no idea. She kept it a secret from me, as I kept it a secret from her. She'd gone on and had married, and was married when I got back from my mission. And the Baines had held a little activity for singles when I came home from my mission, and I was on my way to Rick's anyway. But I'm there and trying to talk up a conversation with Carrie's sister, younger sister, and she put a stop to that right quick. She was not going to have any of this marriage stuff. I'm just like, I just was talking. No, I didn't cry, but I was kind of shocked. I'd experienced that on my mission as well, from a young woman that was a younger sister of a girl that I had met at Rick's that first year. Morgan Egg. Yep. So, isn't that great? When women do not communicate, men get in trouble. And apparently the Corona Mormons, the Mormon girls, I had found out later, after I had shaved off my mustache that I had in junior high, that they were plotting to break into our home, break into my room, and strap me down to the bed and shave off my mustache. So that's the Mormon girls for you in California, willing to commit crime to get their way. I saw my first R-rated movie at 17, because that's when we were allowed to watch R-rated movies without parental involvement. With Keith Fenstermacher, who eventually moved to Boise, Idaho. I don't know if he's still there or whatever. He got in a family. But it was Platoon. And so after that, I realized, hey, I can get my own account at the local video store right there by the 7-Eleven, where I would go and buy the chalk flavored cigarettes for kids, candy cigarettes, and play the arcade games if nobody else was on them. And had a couple of jobs so that I could rent the movies, so that was not an issue at all. But I had to wait until the family was all in bed before I'd watch them. And so yeah, it was a higher level learning experience for me, as I learned about Steven Seagal, Marked for Death, which became a training video for my mission in New York, New York. and some other movies that I'm seeing Amazon is now providing. I go, oh, I remember watching this at some point. It must have been in high school. And yep. So yeah, Also, being a Mormon boy, being shy and conflicted about women and girls my age. In Corona, my dad built on, above the dining room, a room for me. And it was right across from Stacy. And she was 2 years younger than I am. But at that age, that's not too big of a deal. I had designed my room to have the light shine on the desk so that I didn't have to have a lamp, and had the desk up against the window. And one day I see movement in my peripheral vision, and I look up and I see Stacy doing a breast exam in the mirror on her door, which was positioned just so that I could see. So I have no idea in retrospect as if she were purposely wanting me to see, or if it was just an innocent thing like me having my desk at the window. Innocent. But I was caught staring as I then realized I was caught and immediately ducked, hit the floor, and after a while peeked to find that she had closed the window. So yeah, I'm sure that she wasn't. But I likewise rearranged my room. Desk was moved to a different location, and kept my window shut as well, as I'm terrified that she thinks of me as some kind of a pervert. However, in my office aid class, I also, along with filing people's jail records, was involved with delivering messages to the various teachers or students in the classes that I'd have to give them to the teacher and one day after that incident was assigned to send a message to the class where Stacy was in that class, and she just happened to be right there at the door in the front row, and she sees me as I come in, and I of course gave a shock when I saw her, and still tried to be professional, went right to the teacher, gave her the message and left, but saw that Stacy had been whispering to her girlfriend next to her as the two of them were laughing at each other about someone else. So yeah, isn't that just nice? She's not a Mormon, so she doesn't have the Mormon views. Neither did the woman that I took to the dance. And so yeah, I was totally afraid for my life. Just totally scared, trembling, confused. Do I kiss her after this dance date? Am I supposed to take her to a hotel and raw dog her? I don't think raw dogging had been in our vocabulary yet. Is it raining or something still? I'm hearing slush. I guess it's from the snow as more cars are out on the road. But yeah, I went without a kiss on that date, and that was a tragic situation where I was able to get out of it because somebody thought it would be funny to to pop my tires on the truck, so that I couldn't give her a ride home. And that ended that relationship. Short-lived relationship. But, Stacy would eventually open up her windows again, I noticed, about a month or two later. And so, yeah, I never had another opportunity, as I had rearranged my room anyway. And I always wondered, though, are my window sheets, are people able to see through them? Has she been staring at me the whole time? I don't know, but because I could sort of see through from inside the room, but oh well. Alrighty, it's over an hour, so it's 7:30, so I might as well shower and shave. But that gives you a life of what it's like to be a California Mormon boy. As I'm sure Utah Mormons have a completely different view on life from their experiences being with, raised with, those of the same religion. So yeah, I didn't have any of the traditional values instilled in me. I had the worldly values instilled in me. I'm a material girl. Like a virgin. And that created a different upbringing and a different view of life and of Mormonism as a result. And Mormons disapprove, obviously. And yet, despite being a good old boy, I am not accepted here in Utah because I am too different. For me, I had to actually use the scriptures, search scriptures, to find out about Mormonism, as I didn't have my peers to tell me how I'm supposed to perceive Mormonism. Oh, you can't drink that Mountain Dew, Travis. That's against the word of wisdom. I don't see it in the word of wisdom. Oh no, it's understood. It's an oral tradition. We all know it. Oh yeah? Oh, you can't look at that magazine cover in the grocery store aisle. That's pornography. What? Too much flesh is showing. Her garments aren't being covered up. She's not wearing garments, she's not Mormon. Well, in Utah, we do things differently. Yeah. So, yippee-ki-yay.